Well, hello and a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening based on the time in which you all will be watching the videos. And especially, hello Ninthers, this is the first video I'll be making for you all, as the previous videos were being given by Sir Rashim, and he will be involved in some work. That is why he won't be able to make the videos. That is why I'll be making the videos. Now, Sir Ashim, he's your teacher and he was my teacher too. Not was, he is still my teacher. He's still very supportive, very encouraging, very motivating, and he is there for me in whatever I or in everything which I ever need help from. So, thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to make this video for the ninthers. And also, I'm hoping that the ninthers will be able to understand, enjoy this video lecture, and try to learn as much of geography as possible. Also, please try watching the video completely, or if not, please you can refer to any video which is there on the internet in the YouTube, but please study and try understanding and loving geography a bit. Moving forward, I'm hoping that every one of you is doing well, doing fine along with members of your family. Before I ask you all to be safe from the virus, which everyone is telling, I'm also going to ask you all to please stay safe from the heat. The heat right now is excruciating. And coming to landforms and coming to mountains, plains, valleys, plateaus, we all talk of these things. But do we ever try to understand why these landforms are being formed, or what is the major driving force? We talk of the endogenic forces, the exogenic forces. What are the major driving forces, or what is actually driving these endogenic forces, the mountain formation forces, the plateau formation forces? What are these forces, and what is the source of all these forces? We'll be trying to understand all these and much more in this video. So please stay with me till the end, and if you have any doubts, please comment it in the comment section. Now just let us move on to the pen and paper and try to understand a few things of geography. So before we try to understand the endogenic and the exogenic forces, or before, what are the endogenic forces actually, as you must have done in the previous video lecture, endogenic forces are nothing but the forces which are originating from inside the surface of the earth, and exogenic forces are the forces which are at play above the surface of the earth. Both the endogenic and the exogenic forces are equally responsible for creating the various landforms which we see on the surface of the earth, and also below the ocean surface. Now, when we talk of these landforms, you should keep in mind that as 70% of the earth is made up of ocean, there are so many different landforms which are existing below the ocean surfaces also. It is not only the landforms which we see on the continents is what is making up the Earth's landforms. The landforms which is below the ocean surface are also a part of the Earth's landform. So these landforms are created by the endogenic and the exogenic forces. But it is the endogenic forces which actually first causes these landforms to come up, and then the exogenic forces act on these landforms so as to give them the present day shape and their sizes. Now when we try to talk of, or when we try to understand the endogenic forces, we all know that or we all keep on hearing that whenever, how is a mountain formed? So we know that when two plates, they come together, they collide with each other, and you get mountains. But what is actually causing these plates to move? What causes the tectonic plates to move from one place to another? What causes the rift valleys to occur? In order to understand all these, we have to understand the basics of the earth first. And when I talk of the basics of the earth, it is the layers of the earth. Now as you can see in this diagram, I have tried to make the layers of the earth, and well, I cannot make the layers of the earth as such, but then in this page, as you can see, the different layers are marked. You have over here the innermost layer, the crust, the inner crust, then we have the outer crust, after that we have the inner mantle, then we have the outer mantle, which is also called the asthenosphere, and then we have the crust. So okay, I think I just told it inner crust, it's the inner core. It's the inner core over here, the outer core, the inner mantle, the outer mantle, and the crust. Now when we are talking of these layers, the core is the innermost layer of the earth. and the most densest. This part, this is the core, and the most important element which is found in the core is nickel and iron. That is why we have the magnetic field of the earth originating from the core. The inner core is the hottest part of the earth, but the inner core is also solid. Why is the inner core solid? Because the extreme pressure from the above lying layers, that is the above layers, the outer core, the inner mantle, the outer mantle, the crust. So the pressure, the weight of all these layers is falling on the inner core. That is why it does not, or that is why it makes the inner core solid. The temperature is high, but alongside the pressure is also very very high, which causes the inner core to be solid. Now the outer core over here, the temperature is high but not as high as that of the inner core, and the pressure also over here is very very low compared to that of the inner core. That is why the outer core happens to be liquid and the inner core is in the solid state. Next we have the mantle. The mantle also, like the core, has two distinctive layers, the inner mantle and the outer mantle, and the mantle is the largest of all the three layers of earth. The mantle, the lower mantle lying just above the core, or the inner mantle lying just above the core, this part, although it is hotter than the upper mantle, this as you can see, so as to keep in mind, as we go deeper inside the earth, the temperature keeps on rising. So we can understand this, that the mantle, the mantle will be less hotter than the core, and the crust will be even less hotter than the mantle and way much colder than the core. So the lower mantle lying just above the core, or the inner mantle lying just above the core, although it is hotter than the outer mantle, but this inner mantle is in a solid state because of the, again similarly, as was the case in the inner core, the inner mantle is also in a solid state because of the extreme pressure which is acting on it from all sides. That is why the inner mantle is in a solid state. Now coming to the outer mantle, this part of the mantle which is just above the inner mantle is this outer mantle is hot, and the pressure over here is not as much as it is there in the inner mantle, which results in this part, the rocks over here are much softer and less rigid. This softer plastic part of the mantle is called the asthenosphere. It is this asthenosphere which is actually responsible for nearly all the endogenetic forces or the processes due to the setting up of the convection currents. We'll be doing this in detail afterwards, but just understand that it is because of this asthenosphere, this liquid part of the mantle, this soft part, or this plasticky part of the mantle, which is the asthenosphere, which is actually causing the most of the endogenetic forces, or the endogenic forces which causes the rise of landforms. Now when we are talking of this, let us have an overview. Just the inner core is solid, the outer core is molten. Again, the inner mantle is solid, the outer mantle is soft plastic like, and the crust is solid. So we have to keep in mind one thing, that there are two kinds. Again, this crust is on a liquid mantle. The crust is floating on a liquid mantle. There are again two kinds of crust. This is actually very important to understand, so as to understand different kinds of plate boundaries and the plate interactions. There are two kinds of crusts. The first is the continental crust, and then comes the oceanic crust. As you can see over here, this is the crust and this is the mantle. The ocean over here, the ocean is always formed on a depression. Water will always be collecting on a depression over here. That is why this part of the crust is much more compact than this part of the crust, that is the continental crust. So this is the continental part, this is the oceanic part. This continental crust is less denser than the oceanic crust. It is very easily understood. Why? Because the volume of this continental crust is much more larger, or much more greater than the volume of this oceanic crust. And as you all know that density is equal to mass by volume. So the volume of the continental crust being much less, much higher than that of the oceanic crust. We have the density of the continental crust less than that of the oceanic crust. Next, we have this part, the lithospheric plates. The crust is actually not whole. The lithosphere or the crust, this part is actually not whole. The crust is divided, or the crust is broken down into plates. You can just imagine it as just take a round glass bowl or a china plate bowl or a bone china plate, and in the center, in the middle, just bang it with a hammer slowly. What you will find is that, or imagine the crust, imagine a pizza. You will find that the pizza is divided. Similarly, the crust is also divided into different plates. These are called the tectonic plates. Now, this lithosphere, this crust, is actually resting on top of the asthenosphere. So the crust is hard, and this hard brittle shell, the crust, is resting on the soft plastic underlayer, that is the asthenosphere. This asthenosphere, let us try to understand this. I hope the diagram is clear to everyone. This over here is the asthenosphere. Over here we have the three different plates. We have one plate over here, we have another plate over here, and then we have another plate over here. This is one plate, second plate, third plate. This is the asthenosphere, this is the lithosphere. If you could just look at it, if you just recall your physics class, you'll understand that hotter things tend to rise up. Now this is the crust, this is the asthenosphere, next comes the inner mantle, next comes the core. So as it is understood, or as you can understand, the temperature is increasing as we are going down, or as we are going deeper. Now the temperature inside, or temperature in this part, this is the inner mantle. So the temperature over here is bound to be more than the temperature on the upper part. Now because of this, a convection current is set up. So the liquid is, or this liquid, the asthenosphere, this liquid or the molten material, the molten rocks, are actually moving from the lower part and going to the upper parts. As they are going to the upper parts, and as this convection current is set up, just imagine this thing to be floating on water, or to be floating on water, and you put the water on boil. It is in a vessel, and I put it on the water is in a vessel. I put it on the vessel or on the water, and I am putting the vessel and I'm putting the water to a boil. What you'll be noticing is that this keeps on moving towards different directions. Why? Because of the convection currents which are set up underneath, or the convection current which is there in the water will force this thing which is floating on the water to move in different directions. Similarly, you all understand that the lithosphere is actually floating on this liquid asthenosphere, and this lithosphere will be moving according to the convection current which is set up below. This lithosphere, or this convection current which is being set up over here, this convection current is actually what causes the plates to move, and this is what gives rise to plate tectonics. So I hope now it is clear to every one of you that what makes why understanding the different layers of the earth is important, so as to understand why the plates move from one place to another. Otherwise it may be a question, or a question may rise in your mind, that why do plates move, or how can plates move? The plates are made up of such huge amounts of materials. The mass of the plate is huge. So what actually causes the plate to move? It is this liquid part which is causing the plate to move. You can think of this lithosphere, it is just like an iceberg which is floating on water, and it will be moving according to the current of the water. Now let us look at this diagram once. As we can see, the convection current which is being set up, the direction of this liquid molten parts in the asthenosphere is over here. This part is moving towards the side. Over here you can see the arrow heads. So this is the direction. this is the direction, and one part is moving this side. This is the direction which you have. Now this plate which was there, what will happen when, or what is going to happen when this plate is having two opposing motions, or the plate is being pulled towards two different sides because of this convection current? As you can understand, this convection current which has been set up, this side will be pulling this part of the plate towards this side, as you can see the direction, and this side, or this convection current, will be pulling the plates or pushing the plates towards this side, and the plate is wanting to move at opposite directions, and thus over here a rift will be formed. That is what you all know as rift valleys. A rift will be formed in this part, and as a rift is formed in this part of the plate will be moving towards the left. As this part of the plate moves towards the left, here you can see there is another plate, and as I was talking, this is a continental plate over here, this is a continent, and this is an ocean over here. So a oceanic plate is going to collide with a continental plate. If you all have understood that oceanic plates are much more denser than the continental plates, you can now easily understand one more thing. Due to the heavier density, or just imagine two things are floating on the water, and one thing is much more denser, or this part is much denser, this oceanic plate is much denser than this continental plate. What is bound to happen when what will be happening when the oceanic plate collides with this continental plate? The oceanic plate, being much more denser than the continental plate, will go down, will be plunged downwards, will be moving downwards, will be subducted. That is why we have a subduction zone over here. This is a subduction zone. What does subduction mean? Subduction means nothing but one part moving under another, or one thing moving under another. So we have the continental plate moving under the we have the oceanic plate moving under the continental plate. Why? Because the continental plate is much lighter than the oceanic plate. That is why, or the oceanic plate being much denser, the oceanic plate is moving inside. Here we have a subduction. Here crust is being lost. As you can see, this brown part over here, this was the crust which has already moved inside, and it has now gone to the mantle. So we have the crust which is being lost. This part, as it goes inside, this again melts, and on melting, or this thing as it melts, it again becomes a part of the asthenosphere. But over here what is happening is, here new crust is being formed. Here, as the continent is moving apart, as this plate is breaking and moving apart, lava is coming out, and magma comes out of this area, and the magma, as it solidifies, newer crust is formed in this area. So newer crust is being formed in this area, and older crust is getting inside or being destroyed in this area. This kind of a plate boundary is called a convergent plate boundary, where two plates converge. It is a convergent plate boundary, and this kind of a plate boundary is called a divergent plate boundary. Now in convergent plate boundary, we have to keep in mind, if it is a continental plate plus continental plate, which means if this part would not have been an oceanic plate, had it been a continental plate, let us just see it over here. Now what I am talking of is, if suppose this is a continental plate, and here there is another continental plate. This is a continental plate, this again is a continental plate, here is another example. This is a continental plate. Here we have a oceanic plate. This continental plate, when there is a convergence, when two continental plates are converging with one another, or when two continental plates are converging, what actually happens is orogenesis happens. Orogenesis is mountain formation, as you have done in the previous video lecture. When two continental plates are colliding, none of them, or the density of both of these plates, will be nearly similar to each other. That is why none of them goes inside, or none of them is subducted inside one another. What actually happens is the continents are forced to rise. As the continents are forced to rise, we have mountains being formed. When two continental plates are coming together, none of them being denser, or both the density being nearly equal, they do not go down. Why? Because none are, or because the density is similar. That is why as the continental plates they converge, what is happening is they start rising in the middle, and we have mountains being formed. This is orogenesis, or fold mountains being formed. But when we have a continental plate converging with a oceanic plate, the oceanic plate being more dense and the continental plate being less dense, the oceanic plate gets submerged inside the continental plate. And as this starts happening, we have loss of crust over here, and newer crust is formed in these areas. This is, so I guess now you all understand what happens when a continental plate converges with the oceanic plate, and when a continental plate converges with a continental plate. Now if you have understood this, there is just one more thing which I want you all to understand, that is formation of rift valleys. We have plates over here. This is the first plate and this is the second plate. Now let us talk of this as a continental plate, and let this be an oceanic plate. As this continental plate and the oceanic plate they converge, the oceanic plate starts moving downwards because of the more density, or because of the fact that the oceanic plate is more dense than the continental plate. As this oceanic plate is moving towards the continental plate, over here in this part, the oceanic plate is also coming apart, as I showed you in the diagram. I am talking of this. As this plate is moving towards the continental plate, and as there is a subduction over here, the oceanic plate is coming apart in this area due to the convection current. This part, there is a formation of mid-oceanic ridge. What are mid-oceanic ridge? Mid-oceanic ridges are nothing but submarine mountains. Mid-oceanic ridges are also called submarine mountains. Submarine mountains because they are inside the surface, or they are below the surface of the ocean. Why this, or how do these mid-oceanic ridges, or how are these ridges formed? It is because the ridges are formed at the point where the oceanic plate is breaking apart or moving apart, and this is a divergent plate boundary. One side of the plate is moving this side, the other part is moving this side, and over here the lava flows starts coming up, and as the lava is coming up and it starts solidifying, it forms mountains under the surface of the ocean. That is why we have mid-oceanic ridges. One of the most prominent mid-oceanic ridge which we have is the Atlantic Ocean's mid-oceanic ridge, and these are also called the submarine mountains. And lastly, when a continental plate breaks apart, suppose this is a continental plate, I am writing CP, not to be confused with Connaught Place. When a continental plate, this was a continental plate, and due to convection currents being set up, this continental plate started moving apart, and there was huge amount of pressure and force which was acting over here, which caused the continental plate to break. as the continental plate started breaking over here, what started happening was something like this. This is one part of the continental plate, let us treat it as one, this is two. So this is the first part, this is the second part, and in between we have a rift valley. This rift valley over here, and these two become block mountains. So the block mountains are found in places where continental plates are moving apart, and this is also another block mountain, and this becomes the rift valley. As the continental plates keep on moving apart from one another in opposite directions, the rift valley also keeps on widening, and a time will come when the depth of the rift valley becomes more than the depth of the ocean, or the rift valley's depth becomes equal to that of the, or equals or becomes lower than that of the sea level. As the rift valley's depth becomes lower than the sea level, water starts filling inside the rift valley, and as water starts filling inside the rift valley, we find, or small seas may be formed, and gradually as the continents again keep on moving apart and apart, gradually this part will be filled by an ocean. This thing is happening as we speak. This rift valley formation and the moving apart of the continental plate is happening in East Africa. This is also called the East African Rift Valley system. I hope Rift Valley, I hope the block mountains, how the block mountains are formed, how the fold mountains are formed, what actually happens, and why the plates keep on moving, why the plates are moving and colliding with each other, why the plates are coming apart, why the plates are diverging from each other, how the newer crust is formed, is clear to you all. And as you can understand, all of this happens just because of the convection current which is set up by the, or in the asthenosphere, because the asthenosphere is liquid or molten part, or made up of molten rocks. So before trying to understand the mountains and the formation of mountains, I hope, or I guess, that this part, or understanding this part, is much important, so as to understand the other parts, which, or so as to understand the formation of mountains, and also so as to understand orogenesis. So the remaining parts of the chapter will be covered in the next video lecture, which will be coming sometime in this week. I hope that every one of you will be doing well, and if you did have any doubt or some doubt, please comment it in the comment section so that I can clarify those doubts. And please stay safe and be safe. Thank you.